Before I made this video, I checked out YouTube to see who else is using plywood for a bookcase. There was one video and I loved the simple modern design until the point in the video where the woodworker covered over the edge of the plywood with an iron-on banding veneer. What? Why hide the gorgeous edge laminates that's the very essence of plywood? To add insult to injury, he then stained it dark, I suppose to make it look like mahogany. Well, plywood ain't cheap, and in my opinion has an honest construction that's worth showing off. After all, plywood is used for aircraft construction. I first started making plywood furniture in the 1970s, and a local furniture shop turned down my design for a plywood rocking chair, saying the public prefer veneered furniture. Well, that was 40 years ago. I think it's time to move on. Well, I did find a few customers, and one in particular I made various items of living room furniture for him in the 90s. Now, the other day, out of the blue, he contacted me, asking me to make another bookcase for him. He's an ex-librarian and has a lot of books. The design is very simple, and he just provided me with the measurements, so it almost designed itself. The bookcase is not only made of plywood, but features one of my unique routed joints, which is a kind of signature to a very basic construction. The construction is actually biscuit jointed together. I'm going to deal with the special joint in another video, and also the marking out of the numerous components in a separate video as well, and also the finishing. So here I'm going to focus on what is perhaps the most tricky part of the whole process, and that is the gluing up of the bookcase. Now, my confidence got the better of me as I relied on memory, as I haven't glued up a carcass for a while, and I had to think on my feet to avoid a calamity. You see, there are an awful lot of parts to the bookcase, with about 20 biscuits to insert and glue up and clamp. In fact, more than 20 biscuits. So you wouldn't do it all in one go, would you? You'd need a glue with a pot life of at least 20 minutes, and in this summer heat I'm not risking that, not even using cascamite. On this bookcase there are 10 separate parts with 15 joint surfaces and 30 biscuits to glue, and the whole thing has to be square and flush and with tight joints. Now, whether you're making a bookcase or you're using solid wood, veneered board or chipboard, the challenges of gluing up a carcass are the same. What I'm going to show you here is a step-by-step gluing procedure, and as my clamps aren't long enough, I decided to make improvised wooden clamps out of batten using a hot melt glue gun and some wedges. Ideally you need proper clamps, but I got away with this alternative method as all my joints were tight and also accurately marked out. Now, woodworking is about creative solutions. You could, for instance, use screws as clamps for the glue, and then feature the screws by recessing them with a router. Because having on hand a load of long clamps is all very well in a professional workshop, but for the occasional woodworker or hobbyist you may not have them. Actually, I do have a couple of really long clamps, but they're so heavy, and this improvised method worked. I decided to glue the bookcase in several stages over a couple of hot summer days. So I chose Titebond original glue, which can be taken out of the clamps after just half an hour. I played safe and left each glue up stage for at least an hour. And as I say, I glued up the entire bookcase in several stages. Unconventional it may be, but it worked, because it meant I was reducing the gluing area and giving myself enough time to align everything and check for squareness and flushness at every stage. Is flushness a word? The penultimate stage was gluing the top member. and checking everything is aligned and flush, and the ultimate stage was the centre foot. Oh, I forgot. There are backing strips to go on 3 of the shelves, which I shall cut to size separately and glue and G-clamp. You see, the fun of woodworking is to do complex jobs in stages, and then it makes it much easier. I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but it's an alternative way that makes it a lot easier. Now please keep posted to see how I marked out this bookcase, and also a video on the special routed joint I designed and the finishing of the bookcase. Now where's my black paint?